Softspoken ASMR. Hello guys, this is Doom here, and for this video I will just wish that you close your eyes and find a comfortable position where you feel calm and serene. I'm going to tell you something that happened to me earlier this day. I was a bit tired. I had been to the store and I went home and felt tired, so I thought I would take a nap. Now, before I start telling you this story, I must tell you a bit about myself, a bit of backstory. I grew up with my grandmother and grandfather because my mother worked a lot when I was little. And we moved out to the island of Möja in Stockholm's archipelago, and we lived there. And my grandmother and grandfather died 22 or 23 years ago. And my grandmother died of cancer, and my grandfather died, I don't really know from what. Anyway, I went to sleep, and when I woke up I was at my grandmother's old house where I grew up, and my mother was there too, and everything seemed really real, very real indeed. But at the same time I felt this strange pressure on my body, and it felt weird actually. And then it suddenly hit me that my grandmother had actually passed away all these years earlier. And another thing hit me, and that was that this must be a dream. Now, I have been experienced lucid dreaming earlier in my life, but this was a bit different because I could not control what was happening around me to a certain degree. So I actually did the same thing, and I asked my grandmother, "Aren't you dead?" And she just stared at me and said, "No, I'm not." And I asked, "Where is Granddad?" And she said, "He's in the apartment in Stockholm." And that was the way it was, because he often went into the apartment to pay bills and stuff. And I insisted and said, "This is just a dream. You passed away, and this is a dream." And this is where the dream really gets strange, because my grandmother tried to convince me that her death and everything after that was just a dream. And she was very persistent and said, and laughed and said, "Well, I'm not going to die yet, so you don't have to worry, you just had a bad dream." And by this point I was kind of confused, because all of a sudden it kind of felt like the real life where I am now. It seemed like a vague dream. I didn't remember making YouTube videos for you guys. I didn't remember my dogs, my ex-girlfriend. But somewhere inside I still felt it was kind of a dream. So I did something really strange. Strange in that if it hadn't been a dream, they would have just sent me to the lunatic asylum. I said very loud, "Can you do this in a dream?" And the first thing that popped into my mind, since I was almost certain I dreamed is that I can do this. So I reached out my arms and I kind of channeled the force from Star Wars, and I levitated one of the kitchen chairs. Now, it didn't go easy. It was kind of like muscle power that shot out from my arms into the chair. It's hard to describe, but I had to really concentrate for it to like float in the air, and it bumped into things, and I raised it about a meter up in the air, and my grandmother and my mother just kind of looked at it like in shock, and the dream started to feel more and more surreal, and I kind of hastily woke up, with tears in my eyes, and the feeling of that dream was so profound and sincere. If it almost felt like my life was a dream and that was the reality. And the reason why I'm telling you this is that I find it's so fascinating with dreams, because in this dream the people that I had dreamed up, my grandmother and my mother, were the ones who doubted me, and they actually tried to tell me that I had a dream which was my real life. So I just wanted to share this odd dream that I had. I often have strange dreams, but this was one of the more vivid ones, and it kind of was lucid because I know I was dreaming, but I don't know what would have happened if they had convinced me that that was the real life and that I was dreaming now. And that gives you kind of like something to think about. How sure are you that you really aren't dreaming right now? Because in the dream, my real life felt like a vague dream I had a long time ago. And that was the reality. Now this feels like the real life, and the dream is a bit vague and distant. But can you really be sure? Are you dreaming or are you awake? That's something to think about. As always, guys, I love you. I will see you later. Now have a good night's sleep and wake up safe and sound. Bye.